In the second and final part on industry analysis, we will look at other forces or factors such as the sixth force, relative power of other stakeholders that need consideration, as well as conclude by addressing the following important issues: implications for strategy, positioning the company, exploiting industry change, and competition and value. While a seminal piece of academic contribution to corporate strategy, Mr. Porter's original five-force model didn't fully account for complex and dynamic markets. See the introduction of the sixth force under the heading Other Stakeholders, relative power of unions, governments, etc. Therefore, the sixth force, relative power of other stakeholders. The other entities and groups generally termed as stakeholders do have an impact on the firm, and this is Porter's sixth force, which include complementors, government, public, shareholders and employees, etc. Porter lists government as a factor, not a force, along with subordinate variables like the industry growth rate and complementary products and services. According to him, government is not best understood as a sixth force because government involvement is neither inherently good or bad for industry profitability. The best way to understand the influence of government on competition is to analyze how specific government policies affect the five competitive forces. For instance, patents raise barriers to entry, boosting industry profit potential. Conversely, government policies favoring unions may raise supplier power and diminish the profit potential. Complementors are sometimes proposed as the sixth force. Complements are products and services used together with an industry's products. For example, computer hardware and software. Complements can affect the demand for an industry's product. Would you buy an electric car if you had no place to plug it in? And now let's look at what are the implications for strategy. The first, understanding the forces that shape industry competition is the starting point for developing strategy. Every company should already know what the average profitability of its industry is and how that has been changing over time. The five forces reveal why industry profitability is what it is. Only then can a company incorporate industry conditions into strategy. The second, positioning the company. Strategy can be viewed as building defenses against the competitive industry forces or finding the position in the industry where the forces are weakest. Third, exploiting industry change. Industry changes bring the opportunity to spot claim promising new strategic positions if the strategist has a sophisticated understanding of the competitive forces and their underpinnings. Fourth, an industry structure can be reshaped in two ways. One by redividing profitability in favor of all incumbents, or by expanding the overall profit pool. Redividing the industry pie aims to increase the share of the profit to industry competitors instead of to suppliers, buyers, substitutes, and keeping out potential entrants. Expanding the profit pool involves increasing the overall pool of economic value generated by the industry, in which rivals, buyers, and suppliers can all share. Analysis of the five and other forces or factors is used most often to determine the attractiveness of an industry, and this is certainly indispensable for companies and investors deciding whether to exit, enter, or invest in an industry. In other words, a good five forces analysis allows you to see through the complexity of competition, and it opens the way to a host of possible actions you can take to improve performance. This concludes the two parts on industry analysis. In the next part, we will work through putting it all together and completing the summary and synthesis of all the external factors, namely natural, macro, and task. Thank you.